Okay, this is now tarot lesson number 167, and I'm calling it the tarot for adults. And it may turn into a whole series with that idea of the tarot for adults. So I wanted to do something different, and the word adult comes from a root, from a Latin root that means ripe and nourishing. And it seems to me that rather than want to become wealthy, maybe we should aim to become ripe, because when a fruit or something is ripe, it's reached its perfect state and it's ready for enjoyment. And maybe we look at the tarot in the same way that you and I, that we as readers or as students of the tarot become ripe, that we're going in the right direction and we're reaching a point of perfection or a point of being ready. The other idea is nourishment, from a Latin verb, can't remember which one. But it's the idea of nourishment, and it can be that the tarot will nourish us. It will give us its kind of mental food, or it's something, sustenance, something that keeps us going. So I'd like to look at this in a bit, or for a while, and see what happens. If you like the idea, leave a comment, and then I'll know I should do more. So I've got my notes here. Point number one is C.C. Zane wrote a number of books on the occult. And he said in his book on the tarot, what the tarot can be made to reveal is limited only by the understanding of the reader. And so the more you, listening to this, the more you understand about life, about relationships, about how to live in harmony with your inner self, about how to recognize it, and all that kind of stuff, the more you understand, the more you're going to be able to do with a tarot card or with a number of tarot cards to answer any kind of question. So in the same way that how do you learn the tarot? You just sort of follow your nose, that kind of idea. You explore and you pay attention to what you look for, but also pay attention to what finds you. Because you can, with me, I watch bits and pieces of YouTube videos, and I may have an idea that I want to know more about this, but often there's something about the title, or there's just something that attracts my attention, and I watch it, not really knowing why I'm watching it, but often something will come out of it. So this is all going to be, the first part of it anyway, is going to be about the strength card. Because, and I'll talk you through how I got to have ideas about the strength card and what it means, or what it's about. And so I happened to come across a photograph of the Arch of Constantine, which is next to the Colosseum in Rome. And this Arch of Constantine was built in 300 AD, right, 1700 years ago. It's still standing, still in good shape. Whereas there are houses around here that are falling apart and they're like 40 years old. Anyway, this Arch of Constantine is 70 feet high and 85 feet wide and 24 feet deep. So it's a big monument. It's a big construction. And the thing is, people 1700 years ago, they had the engineering skill and the equipment to create this Arch of Constantine. It's a huge piece of architecture and work, but they did it. So that got me thinking about the difference between animals and people, because people built the Arch of Constantine, animals didn't, dolphins didn't, whales didn't, spiders didn't. So there's something about people, about human beings, that makes us different from animals, so that we're able to create and to develop and to experiment. And it may be this thing here, this opposable thumb. Maybe I was 8 when they told us the difference between humans and animals is that we've got an opposable thumb. We can grip things in a way that animals can't. And it's because we've got this thumb that can move. That means that we can do things that other life forms on the planet can't. So we should be happy that we're human beings. And we should be happy about and appreciate we've got hands and opposable thumbs and skill. And we've also got a body. So rather than being annoyed that the body's not working well, we should appreciate the fact that we've got a body, because we've got a body, we can take what's in our mind and turn it into something physical and concrete and real, we can say. And we can make things better. We can make things worse, but we can also make things better. And we can make things that last. Or we can set things up for future generations so they'll prosper and do well and they'll benefit. So let's be happy and let's be appreciative of the human body and the fact that it's a vehicle for the mind to express itself. So this got me back to this. One thought led to another, to the strength card, because we've got a lion, which is an animal that can't build stuff. It can hunt and it can eat and it can sleep, but it can't make the Arch of Constantine. And we've got a person here, a woman, who could build the Arch of Constantine. So the lion is Leo. Obviously, it's a sign of the zodiac. And the lion can represent ego and pride. So we've got pride and we've got the woman controlling the lion. So I happened to watch this video, and this is how I end up learning stuff. And it had to do with, why don't lions eat hyenas? And so it showed you lions attacking hyenas and killing them, but they don't eat the hyena, even though they're carnivorous creatures. So why not? And then somebody figured out that they don't eat hyenas because hyenas have got parasites and the lions don't want to get... I don't know how they figured this out, because nobody asked a lion, why don't you eat hyenas? And they didn't get an answer. So the point that they made was that lions are picky eaters. And so I'm married to Susan, who's a Leo, and she's a picky eater. So there was a friend came round for lunch a couple of days ago, or a few days ago, and Susan got a lettuce. And if I eat a lettuce, I start on the outside and work my way in. Right, but Susan took the heart of the lettuce, the nicest bits, and started with that. And then she threw away the rest of it. And so is Leo a picky eater? Which may seem a ridiculous thing to wonder about, but it's, next time you meet a Leo, or you're in dealing with a Leo, observe if they're actually a picky eater, because I think they are. And it means that you've added something to your understanding of the nature of Leo, that they're picky about what they eat, about what they take into their system. So I was also reading the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and that in it he talks about there being two consciousnesses. There's the consciousness that we get from our senses, which seems to me to be the lion. And there's a consciousness that we get from our mind. So we've got, this is, again, the connection with the strength card. We've got the lion that represents the five senses: taste, touch, smell, hearing, and sight, right? And the lion will get information about the world through its senses. We get information about the world through our senses. But the thing is, our senses can be wrong, or our senses are incomplete, because dogs can hear sounds that we can't hear. So there are sounds. There's a bigger range of sound than we can identify. So we hear stuff, but it's limited in its own way. So the strength card can show limited understanding based on the senses. It may be correct enough, but it's still limited. At the same time, we've got the opportunity to do something with that information and to do something correct with it. So two consciousnesses. So we've got the outer consciousness, or the outer condition, it can be represented by the lion. And we've got the inner understanding. So we've got, I need this other deck here. So we have, let me just do this. We've got a card, right? We pick a card and we get the Seven of Pentacles. So we've got the outer and the inner. We've got the description of the card and what it shows. But we've also got, that can be the lion part of it. But we're looking and we're seeing and we're not tasting, but we're looking. But the woman in the Strength card can represent the fact that we can make sense of it. We can do something with this interpretation. So everybody can agree that with somebody standing here, he's looking at maybe 6 coins here, and maybe he's wondering about what to do next, or maybe this fell off, or maybe this is maybe ripe, and these are not quite ripe, and he's wondering whether he should take them. We can have a number of different people will have a different interpretation of the meaning of the card. But we can all look at the card and see the same thing. But what we do with that, with the image, or what we do with the bits and pieces is going to be different. So we can look at a card and describe it, but we can, if we look at a card and derive a meaning, that can be different. And so this is one of the problems with what does a card. If you start with what a card means, maybe it means that, but the meaning may not be relevant for the question that was asked. So we can look at let me pick it. I'm not quite sure what to do next here. The Wheel of Fortune upside down. So we've got, maybe you put these two together and we've got a wheel and it's upside down. So either the wheel is stuck and that's why it's upside down, or it's stuck in one position and it's not moving the way it would normally do. And that in its own way can remind you of this card, because here, maybe he already picked one coin and now he's wondering what to do next. In the same way that the Wheel of Fortune can be stuck in a particular position. The engine's not working, so the wheel isn't turning. And maybe with the Wheel of Fortune reverse, it's important to figure out what's going on with the engine, rather than focus on the wheel. What's happening? Why isn't the engine working? Or why has somebody got their foot on the brake, if you think of a vehicle? So we can get a certain amount of information by looking at the picture on the card. And this is the reason I like the Rider deck, because there's a picture on each card. We look at the picture, we can agree on what's shown in the picture. But what's important, in the same way that we've got this woman and the lion, what's important is, what do we, the people, what do we, the human beings, make of, or what sense do we make of the picture? And that's where reading the tarot comes in. Or that's how we end up being able to read the tarot. And the last point I'd like to make is about geometry. Remember geometry in high school? Okay, so let's say you've got a line and you've got another line here and you've got a right angle here and a triangle. We know that's a right angle, and we're told this is, I don't know, what does that look like, 70 degrees? And so we're asked to find this angle here. And so what you do is you make use of what you know and you put bits and pieces together to figure out what that angle is. So because this is a right angle and that's a straight line, we know that this is a right angle as well, right? And it's 90 degrees. So if this is 70, that means that the angle opposite is also 70, right? Because that's how the geometry works. So we've got 90 and 70 is 160. And we know that the sum of the angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. So it's 90 and 70 is 160 from 180. That means this angle is 20 degrees. And that's an example of of geometry, where you, instead of looking at somebody says, what's this angle? And you look at you look at the angle, you could measure it, but you look at it and you figure out, the answer is 20 degrees. It doesn't immediately come to you. You've got to take what you know or what you can figure out and add it all up or put it together, and then you end up with the conclusion. And in the same way with the tarot, we want to know what's going to happen in this relationship, or any kind of question. And we pick 3 cards. There's 1, 2, and 3. So think of the answer as a problem of geometry. So we've got the Page of Cups, we've got the Page of Pentacles reversed, and we've got the King of Swords reversed. So you get something from this card, you add it to, or maybe you subtract this part because it's upside down, and then you subtract again to get the King of Swords reversed. So we're looking at it as a problem, not a problem. We're looking at it as as something where you take information from each card and you gather it together and you come to a conclusion. So with the Page of Cups here, we've got, and I came across this card recently, and I thought, we've got the ocean here and the fish in the cup. Can you see that? Okay, I forgot about the angle of the camera up here. So we've got the Page of Cups and we've got the ocean. The fish normally lives in the ocean or lives in the water. So we've got a fish living in a small amount of water, assuming there's water inside the goblet. So what does the Page of Cups do? You're meant to take, or we could say, you're meant to expand the living area of the fish. So the fish can represent an idea or what you want the relationship to be like, because the question is what's going to happen with this relationship. So you've got the relationship at the moment, and it's meant to become bigger, or you're meant to give it a bigger background in the way that you put the fish back into the ocean. So rather than be limited in what you expect in the relationship, you're meant to, or it's a good idea to expand the possibilities. But, and I say but because the next card is upside down, the Page of Pentacles is money, but it may be that the reason that you want to expand, but you haven't got enough money to expand. So get a job, or in some way get a raise, or whatever it happens to be, right? So it can be money is the problem why you can't expand, but it can also be coin represents values and what you care about. So because the Page is a young person, it's time to, or you would benefit if you were to figure out what you actually care about. And then we've got expand, but first make sure that you want to expand in that direction rather than just expand for its own sake. Make sure that you're going in a direction that you want. And then we've got the King of Swords upside down as well. So maybe this is parental influence. I don't know what age the person is, but that could be important. If it's somebody in their 20s. So maybe they're adversely influenced by the father because it's a king upside down. So maybe the father was too strict, or the father gave them orders on what to do and what not to do and what's the right thing to do in a particular circumstance. So you want to expand, figure out what you want, and then recognize what society taught you as being right and wrong, and then figure out if you actually believe it. Because a lot of the stuff that people tell you is accepted, but not very sensible. Okay, that's it. So let me know what you think, and we'll see what happens next time. And in the meantime, I'm making a mess here. In the meantime, have a good week, and I'll see you in a few days. Okay, bye bye.